Hello and welcome to another wrestling video. So today's video is a review of NWA's When Our Shadows Fall, which was of course last night on Fight TV. So while doing this review I'll go through what happened in each match, then give my opinions and a star rating, my own star rating. Obviously, as a quick disclaimer, the star ratings that I give are obviously subjective to me. You might not necessarily agree. Please let me know your thoughts on the show in the comments section down below. But we will get straight into the review of When Our Shadows Fall. So we start off with some clown animations because obviously it's a circus themed event, and we get some nice electric guitar as well as Joe Galli, Tim Storm and Velvet Sky are on commentary and welcome us to the event. We start things off with the Fatal 4-Way Tag Team match between Marshe, Rockett and Slice Boogie versus The End versus Sal Rinauro and El Rudo versus La Rebelion from AAA. And Rudo and Mecha Wolf get things underway in this Lucha Rules match. It's a very quick paced start with arm drags and drop downs aplenty. Rudo and Mecha Wolf reach a stalemate as Sal Rinauro tags himself in and Mecha Wolf gives Bestia 666 the ring. Rinauro starts off by offering his friendship to Bestia, but Bestia is having absolutely none of that. After performing a Hurricane Rana to Bestia, Rinauro again reaches out his hand in friendship, only to be kicked in the gut by Bestia. Don't think Sal is going to be making any new friends here tonight. Mecha Wolf then enters the ring and the Rebellion performs some double team moves on Rinauro, but the pinfall is broken up by Slice Boogie. Rinauro rolls out of the ring, meaning Boogie is now the leader man. Boogie and Mecha Wolf exchange slaps, then Mecha Wolf is whipped into the corner and Boogie performs a beautiful German suplex for a 1 count, broken up by Bestia. This brings Rockett into the ring for the first time. He drop kicks Bestia out of the ring. Rockett then places Mecha Wolf on the top rope for Boogie to scissor kick him, Booker T style, for the 1 count again, as Odinson from the end breaks it up this time. Odinson throws Boogie out of the ring and drop kicks Rockett. Paro then enters the ring, giving Rockett a huge slap before whipping him into the oncoming Odinson, who just barges through Rockett like a steam train. Boogie returns to the ring looking confident despite the fact that there are 2 mammoths in the end standing in front of him staring right back at him. He hits Paro with a right hand to no effect, then another right hand to Odinson, same result, and then a chest slap to each member of the end with exactly the same result. Boogie runs the ropes, he ducks a double clothesline from the end and attempts a moonsault off the middle rope, but falls in between the 2 monsters of the end. Paro then gets Boogie on his shoulders as Odinson goes to the top rope, and they hit a beautiful Hell on Earth, or Doomsday device, if you prefer. But the pinfall is broken up at 2 by Mecha Wolf. Odinson and Mecha Wolf then exchange right forearms. Odinson takes control and lifts Mecha Wolf onto his shoulders. Bestia kicks Odinson in the midsection, but it doesn't seem to affect Odinson. Bestia kicks him again to no effect. Then Paro picks Bestia up onto his shoulders in the same torture rack position as Odinson has on Mecha Wolf. The End then each slam the members of La Rebellion onto the top turnbuckle. The End look like they're going to launch themselves off the apron onto La Rebellion and Boogie on the floor, but Rudo pulls Paro off Odinson's shoulders and pushes him off the apron before Rinauro drop kicks Odinson off the apron. We now have 5 competitors outside the ring with Rinauro and Rudo in the ring. Rinauro looks like he wants to do a Mega Powers style handshake with Rudo, but Rudo doesn't seem to be a fan of the silliness that Rinauro is showing, instead taking a wrist lock on Rinauro and guiding himself to the top rope, walking along the rope a little bit before hitting a moonsault on to The End, La Rebellion and Slice Boogie on the outside. Rinauro is now alone in the ring again, getting ready to hit an outside dive of his own before he's intercepted by Rockett's leg lariat. Rockett then decides he wants to throw himself over the top rope and out to the competitors on the floor too, and he does so. Rinauro is now back on his feet in the ring, but this time gets intercepted when he's attempting a dive by Paro, who Rinauro then very cleverly tries to choke slam. You can imagine how that went. Rinauro hits the ropes, but is picked up by Paro and powerbombed onto the mountain of humanity waiting on the outside of the ring. Paro is preparing for a dive of his own to the outside, but gets intercepted by Marshe Rockett as they proceed to exchange forearms and boots. Paro goes for a choke slam, but it's countered into a cutter from Rockett, who only manages a 2 count as the pinfall is broken up by Bestia. Bestia is then pushed into the corner by Rockett, but moves out of the way of a forearm, tries to capitalise, but is met with a boot by Rockett, who then climbs to the middle rope, only to be met by Bestia's boot to the side of his head. Bestia gets Rockett onto his shoulders for a sort of neck breaker. He's sort of holding him up here, his head's like resting on his shoulder, and he sits down on it. I think it's a neck breaker. Let me know if it's not. Before Mecha Wolf follows up with a 360 splash and we're helpfully informed by Joe Galley that this double team move is called the Total Rebellion. Mecha Wolf then dives to the outside, taking out everyone else as Bestia pins Rockett for the 3 count. So the Rebellion win the opening match of the night. Not the best start to my predictions, but a great start to the show. Very entertaining from start to finish. I really thought the end would win, but La Rebellion really impressed. It's my first time seeing them, and I really enjoyed what they did. Some random masked person appeared part of the way through the match, standing with Kyle, the ring announcer / interviewer guy, at ringside. I'm not sure if I missed something there, but I would give this match 4.5 stars. And the rating system is out of 5, so 4.5 stars. I might be a bit too generous, but I feel quite positive about this show, as you'll see probably from my ratings. After the match, the End enter the ring and stare down La Rebellion. It looks like something's definitely going to be happening between these two teams. Next up is Tyrus versus Pope in the non-title No Limit grudge match. Tyrus is accompanied to the ring by Austin Idol, who's wearing a very garish, shiny pink number, which appears to have octopus suckers all over it, but we'll move on. Tyrus says he's going to dedicate his victory tonight to his charity, but it turns out it's not really his charity, it's the Pope's charity, the Love Alive charity. Classic heel move by Tyrus. Tyrus gets into the ring, takes an age to remove the t-shirt of Pope's charity, so long that Pope just can't take anymore and charges at Tyrus as the bell rings. The Pope corners Tyrus and catches him with forearms and feet in the corner. Tyrus takes a breather outside, but he's immediately pounced on when he re-enters the ring. Tyrus then challenges Pope to some boxing, it appears. He's sort of shadow boxing him. Probably better than what this looks like. Pope obliges and drops Tyrus to a knee before hitting an uppercut, which didn't look great. It didn't really look like he connected with Tyrus at all. I nearly called him Brodus there. We'll not do that. Pope repeats the spot a second time, and the uppercut looks a lot better, and Tyrus falls to the mat after a couple of seconds. Pope goes for a pinfall, but is thrown off by Tyrus at 1. Tyrus then hits Pope with a crossbody after Pope tried to use his body to knock Tyrus back down. Tyrus gains the upper hand and begins standing on Pope's spine before laying him under the bottom rope and pulling his arms so his ribs are being pulled against the rope. A very nasty looking maneuver from Tyrus. Pope looks to have turned things back in his favour, but he attempts a sunset flip from the apron, which doesn't bring Tyrus down. Tyrus instead sits heavily on Pope for a 2 count. Tyrus then traps Pope in the corner and uses some excellent arse offense. I've got in my notes here. It was beautiful stuff. He just sort of uses arse. He sort of like opposite way of thrusting, I would say. So he's got it out and then he thrusts backwards into the midsection of Pope. There's probably some technical term for that, but I don't know what it is. And then he does a running version of that using his arse. Some of the best arse offense I've seen since Rikishi, I have to say. Pope breaks out of a waistlock only to be met with a clothesline when he returns from the ropes. Tyrus is now fully in control and he overhead suplexes Pope after slapping him around a little bit more. Tyrus tries a cocky 1 foot on the chest pin but only gets a 1 count. He then misses with a couple of elbow drops as Pope rolls out of the way and launches a comeback with several shots to Tyrus's head and then a DDT. Pope climbs the top rope but falls back to the middle rope before regaining his composure and hitting an elbow drop. Not the first time we'll see that tonight. I think the ropes could have been a little bit slippy. Pope pulls the knee pads down and is looking for a double running knee, but he's caught by the death grip of Tyrus and Pope kicks out of it just before 3. Pope tries a sunset flip again but can't pull Tyrus down. Tyrus goes for a splash in the corner but Pope gets his knees up. Then he hits the running knees, this time to Tyrus's back. Austin Idol threatens to get on the apron for a distraction and hands Tyrus something while the referee is distracted. Tyrus then hits Pope with the heart punch but clearly has brass knuckles or some other heavy object in that hand and gets the win. Didn't see the brass knuckles, I just saw Austin Idol hand him something. So Tyrus wins this one. It was a bit of a slower, more methodical match. There was a couple of mistakes, but it was still very entertaining and it sets things up nicely for another title opportunity for Tyrus down the line. Also, it also means that I'm 1-1 in terms of the predictions of being right and wrong for the night so far. So this match, I'm gonna give it 3 stars. It was an entertaining match. It was an okay match, but the mistakes and yeah, it was a bit too slow for my liking. But obviously, it's just my taste. So it looks like we're gonna get the women's tag match next, as Thunder Rosa and Melina are up to face Taryn, Terrell, and Kylie Ray, the debuting Kylie Ray. But before that can happen, Tyrus has stolen Kyle's big hat. He's dressed like a ringmaster tonight. I haven't mentioned that, but because of the circus theme, the interviewer guy is dressed as a ringmaster and loses his hat to Tyrus. So now for the women's tag match, Out come Thunder Rosa and Melina in matching purple and black gear. I've obviously got Thunder Rosa and Melina to win this one. It was really great to see Kylie Rae back again, making a debut tonight, as I already said. Taryn Terrell seemed to be wearing some sort of weird angel wings for some reason, not really sure why. And for the second match in a row, one of the competitors makes the other wait for them to slowly remove their entrance gear. It was Taryn Terrell this time, removing her angel wings. But we finally get started, and it's Melina and Terrell to kick things off. Melina takes the early advantage with the wrist lock, throwing Terrell towards the ropes, only for Terrell to slide out of the ring. When she gets back in the ring, she runs over to Kylie Rae and tags her in. Kylie takes control of Melina's wrist, and she's very happy with herself before Melina regains control. It's back and forth with control until Melina tags Thunder Rosa in. Rosa works the arm of Kylie for a while before exchanging submissions with each other. Rosa then tries for an arm drag. Kylie rolls through, misses a thrust kick, and is rolled up by Rosa for a 2 count. Rosa then counters a Kylie Rae arm drag into a pinning predicament for another 2 count before Rosa hits Rae with a beautiful drop kick for 2. Melina tags in, and the women in purple hit a stereo kick to Rae, one across the front of the chest and one across the back. Terrell grabs Melina as she's hitting the ropes, giving Kylie time to take advantage and hit a suplex for another 2 count. Kylie then works the arm of Melina before Melina tags Rosa back in for the hot tag. Rosa hits double knees and drop kicks to both opponents before hitting Kylie with a suplex for another 2 count. Melina's tagged in again, and they hit a flapjack on Kylie Rae for 2 count, broken up by Terrell. Rosa starts beating Terrell up outside the ring and picks her up, and she's wailing on her as they walk to the back. So we're left with Melina and Kylie Rae in the ring. Kylie gets a roll up on Melina, and that's the 1, 2, 3. Taryn Terrell and Kylie Rae with the victory. Another incorrect prediction from me, but a very decent tag match with Kylie Rae looking very, very strong, surviving a beatdown for most of the match to get a win. It was surprising to see Kylie Rae being in the heel team. I think that could actually work quite well. The sort of really happy person, but she's really, really evil as well. So she portrays a sort of happier, smiley side when she's doing really nasty things. I think that could work quite well. I don't know if that's what they're going for, but I would quite like to see that. And I'd give this one 3.5 stars. Next up is the debuting JTG versus Fred Rosa. Now, I predicted Rosa for this one, but we'll see, because of course it is JTG's debut. Commentary are saying how these two know each other very well, that JTG has helped Rosa a lot in the past. Obviously, they were both in WWE back when Rosa was Darren Young, and that's pretty much the story of the match. We get lots of moves where it seems like they know what the other one is thinking of doing, and it's just a really close match. Rosa offers the handshake to start. They shake hands for quite an awkwardly long time, sort of as if they're trying to work each other out. JTG goes for a snapmare early on, but Rosa knows what he's trying to do and blocks it. Rosa then gets JTG to the mat early and starts trying to work on the arm, but JTG breaks free. Roll up from Rosa early gets a 1 count, slow start to this one, just trying to figure each other out. We have several standing switches to change who's in control of the weight before Rosa runs to the ropes, causing JTG to fall out of the ring. JTG returns to the ring and is almost immediately rolled up for another 1 count. Very much an anything you can do, I can do to start to this match, each man copying what the other one does, until JTG connects with a beautiful drop kick. And it looks like JTG is in control, but Rosa gets out of the corner move and hits JTG in the back of the neck with a lariat. Rosa now in control and hits a leg drop for a 1 count. He locks JTG in a sleeper on the mat, but JTG fights out. Rosa then hits a leg drop, then starts the trash talk using Paige's line of, "This is my house," whilst kicking JTG to the apron. Rosa goes to suplex JTG in the ring, but JTG blocks it. Rosa tries again, and this time gets JTG up in the air, but JTG gets out of it, lands on his feet, and hits Rosa with a beautiful lariat. Both men now down in the ring. They both get up at the same time. JTG hits Rosa with a clothesline and an elbow and follows up with a neck breaker. JTG stalks Rosa, then hits a black hole slam, but as he's spinning Rosa around, he sort of loses his footing or loses balance, and he falls a bit awkwardly near the end of the move for the 2 count. JTG gets Rosa on the middle rope. Looks like he's going to go for some sort of razor's edge, but Rosa escapes. Rosa tries to backslide whilst pulling JTG's hair, but JTG tries to reverse it into a backslide of his own. Then we have a lovely example of the little things in wrestling where each man, they're holding the other in a position ready for a backslide, but kicking away at the calves to sort of try and take the legs from underneath him to make the backslide easier, which I really liked that little detail. But then JTG gets an inside cradle on Rosa, and that's the win. So JTG with a debut victory. I really enjoyed this one. I didn't know what to expect from this match, but it was a different style to any of the matches that we'd seen so far. As I said, the story throughout was how much these guys knew each other and how evenly matched they were. So an inside cradle for the win makes a lot of sense, especially given it was JTG's debut. Unfortunately for me, this means I'm now 3-1 down on the predictions, but I still give this a 4-star rating, this match. Next up, we have the Triple Threat Tag Team title match next for the NWA World Tag Team Championships. We've got the champions, Aron Stevens and JR Kratos, against the War Kings and Strictly Business. Jax Dane, Kratos, and Tom Latimer get this one underway, with Latimer being the first to fire shots on both of his opponents before being dropped by a double elbow from Dane and Kratos. Of course, in this match, I picked Strictly Business to win. I didn't think that Stevens and Kratos were going to be able to coexist after things that have happened in the past few weeks on Power. Dane and Kratos hit Latimer with a double suplex before facing off against each other with an exchange of right hands. Latimer then tags Chris Adonis in, who hits Dane and Kratos with a boot, only for them to no-sell. Adonis reaches a hand out to Kratos, who advances forward but is then attacked from behind by Jax Dane. Adonis hits Dane with a DDT, then starts stomping Kratos in the corner. Crimson is tagged in by Dane, but the referee doesn't see it and is distracted as Latimer kicks the steel steps off Kratos' ankle on the outside of the ring. Adonis and Dane are in the ring with Dane in control. Crimson's tagged in and he follows up a splash from Dane with an overhead throw to Chris Adonis. Adonis is thrown out of the ring and Dane rolls Kratos back in. Kratos limps his way to the corner and elbows Crimson before he can make contact with him, then ducks a clothesline on the ropes to send Crimson to the apron before hitting him down to the outside with a right hand. Kratos gets the tag to Stevens, who knocks both members of the War Kings off the apron to the floor. Latimer then gets into the ring but thinks twice once he sees Stevens and just how fired up Stevens looks. Just the champs in the ring as Stevens backs up, just backing away, slowly stepping away, and he backs into Kratos. He doesn't realise it's Kratos though, and he almost hits him with a right hand. The fist of Stevens is about this close to hitting Kratos in the face, and they're both just staring at each other. Latimer tries to take advantage of this, but the champs see him coming. Adonis then sneaks into the ring and applies the master lock to Stevens before Crimson breaks it up and starts pounding on the face of Adonis. Dane is then tagged in and is whipped into a splash on Stevens in the corner by his partner Crimson. He suplexes Stevens, then Crimson hits the elbow drop from the top rope, but Adonis breaks up the pin attempt this time. In comes Latimer now. He kicks Stevens out of the ring and turns his attention to Dane, who's down in the corner. Stevens is now back in the ring and slowly crawling to tag Kratos in, but Latimer spots this and drags Stevens away as Dane knocks Kratos down on the apron. Latimer and Dane seem like they're going to double team Stevens, but Dane gets too excited and knocks Chris Adonis off the apron, leading to Latimer throwing Dane out of the ring too. Latimer then hits the neckbreaker on Stevens, but Dane breaks the pinfall up at 1. Stevens is taking a beating, but he somehow manages to escape Dane's clutches with a stunner. Stevens tries to make it to his partner again, but he's fingertips away when the freshly tagged in Crimson drags him away. Latimer is back in the ring for a couple of seconds, but he's then thrown straight back out by Crimson as the War Kings double team Stevens. There's a slight fight back from Stevens, but the numbers are too much for him. Latimer tries to get the sneaky roll-up win on Dane for a 2 count. Stevens sees his opportunity to tag Kratos, but is again stopped by both of his opponents. Latimer and Dane double team Stevens again, slowly and methodically working on the ankles of Stevens. The double team continues as Stevens is whipped against the ropes, but he manages to kick Dane, tries to reach Kratos again, but is caught by Latimer and rolled up for a 1 count, broken up by Jax Dane once more. Dane and Latimer take turns punishing Stevens before Latimer tags Adonis in, who drops an elbow on the apron at Stevens. Dane goes for the cover twice, but is dragged off each time by Adonis, who then holds Stevens up for Dane to hit him. At this point, I thought Stevens was going to duck and Dane was going to clock Adonis in the face, but that didn't happen. Latimer is tagged back in and the beatdown of Stevens continues with a stalling suplex. Dane and Latimer both go for the cover, but the ref says he can't count it because obviously both men are covering and we wouldn't have a definitive winner of the tag titles. The temporary alliance between the War Kings and Strictly Business now fully breaks down as Latimer and Dane exchange right hands. Stevens uses this to his advantage and starts fighting both men from the mat. He's lying on his back and he's just firing his feet up, firing his fists up, doing everything he can to knock the other 2 men down. Stevens hits the ropes, but he's caught by Dane, who tags Crimson in while Stevens is on his shoulder. Crimson knocks Latimer to the floor and the War Kings are looking for off with his head, but Stevens manages to fight his way out with some elbows to Jax Dane's head. He then pushes Dane into Crimson, then hits Dane with a clothesline, but Crimson is the legal man and he hits Stevens with a drop kick. In comes Latimer, but he is met with a pop-up powerbomb from Crimson. Adonis tries to sneak behind Crimson looking for the master lock, but Crimson sees him and picks him onto his shoulders as Kratos runs into the ring with one of the tag titles. Crimson slams Adonis to the mat as the referee takes the title from Kratos, but Kratos, when the referee's not looking, just hoofs Crimson in the balls. Stevens is still a legal man. He was being down in the corner. He didn't see what Kratos did, turns around, sees Crimson down, covers him, and that's it. That's your win. Stevens and Kratos retain the title. I didn't see that coming. The biggest surprise of the night for me, I think. I thought Kratos was turning on Stevens tonight, but it looks like the story's going to continue for a bit longer. The story of Stevens being beaten down for pretty much the whole match and trying to tag in Kratos was very well done, even if we didn't get the payoff of the hot tag for Kratos in the end. Another very entertaining match, but I'm getting decimated in the predictions, and this kind of destroys the story I thought they'd go with. In my predictions video of Strictly Business picking up the tag and women's titles before Aldis drops the World's Championship. So at this point, I'm thinking maybe Aldis is retaining. So I'm 4-1 down in the predictions at this point, and I'm going to give this match a 4-star rating. It was a very good match, very enjoyable, lots going on, but a great match. Next, we have the NWA World Women's Championship match between the champion Serena Deeb and the contender Kamille. We start off with a face-off, and Kamille just pushes Deeb away with a hand to the face. Kamille then gets the better of a lock-up by pushing Deeb face first to the mat. Another lock-up, and Deeb is just thrown across the ring by Kamille. Kamille just showing off her strength very early doors here. Deeb gains control by wrenching the neck of Kamille, but is then met by a shoulder tackle for a 1 count for Kamille. Deeb attempts to gain control of Camille's wrist, but is thrown off yet again. Deeb goes for a drop toe hold, but can't get Kamille down because she's too strong. Deeb then gets a waist lock on Kamille, but is backed into the corner and met by elbows from the taller woman. Kamille tries to splash Deeb, but Deeb uses her speed to get out of it. Deeb then applies a sleeper hold on Kamille, but is thrown off Camille's back to the mat. Deeb is then held against the ropes and clubbed across the chest, Sheamus style, 10 beats of the Baron, and that old shebang on the apron. Kamille hits a gut wrench suplex for a 2 count. Deeb tries to break out of a submission, but is met by the strength of Kamille as she's thrown into the corner yet again. Backbreaker from Kamille before a huge corner splash and a bear hug to Deeb. Kamille seemed to work the back quite a lot in this one. She hits the suplex for another 2 count and then applies another bear hug, but Deeb fights out of it this time, only to be met with more clubbing blows to her back and a body slam for another 2 count. Kamille rams Deeb back first into the turnbuckle and turns around and slams her to the mat for 2. Kamille tries for the running slam yet again, but Deeb escapes and starts working on the legs of Kamille in the corner with kicks and dragon screws. Deeb uses her speed to get Kamille in a position for a guillotine choke and neck breaker in the ropes. Then Deeb hits a clothesline on Kamille for a very close 2 count. Deeb tries to work on the leg, but she's in pain every time she's applying any pressure to Camille's leg. She's holding her back afterwards because of the damage that Kamille has already done to her. Deeb hits another dragon screw on Kamille before applying an octopus stretch. Kamille fights out, lifts Deeb to her shoulders, hits the steamroller, then stalks Deeb before looking for the spear, but Deeb read it and tripped Kamille. Deeb looks to take advantage, but is thrown over Camille's shoulders. Kamille looks for a spear again, but Deeb counters it this time into a leg hook. Kamille gets to the ropes to break the hold, then gets Deeb into a leg hook of her own, but Deeb breaks the hold using the ropes. Deeb then almost gets a surprise win before being steamrolled and speared as Kamille wins the NWA Women's World Championship. I thought this was an excellent match. It had a great story of Deeb trying to take Camille's legs away while Kamille just tried to use her strength advantage to absolutely batter Deeb and destroy her back. It's definitely the right decision. It makes me wonder whether we'll see Kamille appear on Dynamite like Deeb did. I'd quite enjoy seeing that. Some matches that Kamille could have over on Dynamite would be very interesting. I'd like to see her against Tay Conti. Predictions-wise, I finally get another one right. That's 4-2. I've got 4 wrong, 2 right. And for the match itself, I'd give it a 4-star rating. And now we come to the main event, the NWA World Heavyweight Championship match. The champion Nick Aldis has been champion for over 900 days since October 2018 against the challenger Trevor Murdoch, who Nick Aldis has done some horrible stuff to in the past few months. I've, of course, got Murdoch to win this one, so we'll see what happens. So things get heated before the bells even sounded as Murdoch pushes Aldis while the referee is still explaining the rules to them. Murdoch gets the early advantage, knocking Aldis to the mat several times with a clothesline and hip toss. Aldis tries to do the same to Murdoch, but he is met by a power slam as he tries to hip toss Murdoch. Aldis rolls to the outside for a breather, then trash talks Murdoch in the corner, but Murdoch reverses and hits Aldis with elbows and a body slam for a 2 count. Aldis is fuming and he pushes the referee, who then drops Aldis with a push in return. Could we be seeing Aldis versus the referee on an episode of Power coming soon for the world title? Probably not. Aldis leaves the ring again, but Murdoch joins him this time and hits Aldis' head off the commentary table, then rolls him back into the ring. Murdoch splashes Aldis in the corner, climbs to the top ropes, but he's crotched by Aldis running the ropes. Aldis hits a suplex on Murdoch for a 1 count, then another one for a 2 count before throwing Murdoch out of the ring. Aldis then drives Murdoch into the apron before power slamming him on the concrete floor and climbing back in the ring to try to get the count out victory because he just wants to win by any means necessary to keep his title. Murdoch beats the count, but he's met by an elbow drop from Aldis. Aldis then hangs Murdoch on the second rope and tears at his mouth before pouncing on Murdoch's back. Aldis is clearly working on the back now as he drops an elbow and then hard whips Murdoch into the turnbuckle back first. Aldis applies a camel clutch to Murdoch, but Murdoch manages to lift Aldis up on his back. He tries to back him into the corner, but he seemed to lose his footing a little bit, and Aldis seemed to go head first off the turnbuckle. It didn't look too great. It wasn't too nasty, but the back of Aldis' head sort of collided with the turnbuckle. It was quite slow motion, so he should be okay, hopefully. Aldis regains the advantage as Murdoch misses with the corner splash. Aldis then slaps Murdoch across the face, which seems to rile Murdoch up. He's then able to hit Aldis with a couple of clotheslines for a 2 count. Murdoch climbs to the top rope. He almost slips but regains his balance long enough to hit a top rope bulldog onto Aldis for a 2.99 count. That's the other occasion of someone slipping on the ropes that I mentioned previously. The Pope was the first one to do it, and then Murdoch in this match. I'm going to say that was because the ropes were slippy and that it wasn't the fault of the performer. Give them the benefit of the doubt. Aldis rolls to the apron. Murdoch tries to get him back into the ring, but he's met with a neck breaker on the top rope. Out comes Tom Latimer now with a chair to distract the referee as Aldis enters the ring from the opposite side and hits the referee with a chair in the back before hitting Murdoch with the chair. What is he playing at? He really doesn't seem to like this referee. Aldis slowly climbs to the top rope, drops an elbow on the back of Murdoch, then he tries for another elbow on the front of Murdoch, but Murdoch rolls out of the way. Murdoch picks up the chair, hits Aldis with it to return the favour, and then locks in the Indian Deathlock as the referee crawls back into the ring. The bell rings. Commentary think that Murdoch's won. They're saying he's tapped out. The announcer is about to announce the new NWA World Heavyweight Champion, but then he's told not to by the referee, and it's actually a disqualification. Nick Aldis disqualified for hitting the referee in the back with a chair. It makes sense, but it's a very, very annoying end to the show. Trevor Murdoch's interview post-match, questioning what else he has to do, doubting himself and apologising to the fans. Commentary sell the despicableness of Aldi as we go off the air. Aldi? Commentary are talking about a German supermarket as we go off the air. No, that's not what they're doing. Commentary sell the despicableness of Aldis as we go off the air, especially Tim Storm. He's basically saying what I was thinking, where such a great match, you just don't want it to end that way. You don't want it to end in a disqualification. You want it to have a proper winner, and I wanted Trevor Murdoch to win. So this match gets 3 stars from me. It was a great match. I get the point of the ending. It's to make us dislike Aldis even more for ruining what was a great match. And Murdoch's chance of taking the title when he pretty much had it won, but it still leaves a sour taste in my mouth. I'll not jump to any wild conclusions about how bad it was until we see how things play out on Power in the coming weeks, but the ending definitely contributes to my lower rating for this match. So overall, I thought this was a very strong show. I really enjoyed it. It started off well with that great Fatal 4-Way tag team match. Slowed down a bit with the grudge match and the women's tag match, but got back to its best with the rest of the matches up until the main event, which, like I said, was fantastic up until the ending. So overall, I'm going to give this show 3.5 stars. Please let me know what you thought of the show, as I said before, in the comments section down below. We'll be back with predictions for NXT's In Your House, which is this Sunday later this week, as well as a look ahead to other shows that are streaming this coming weekend too. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel for more content like this, and I'll see you later in the week.